Welcome back to Exciting Europe. Welcome to St. Eustorgio, one of the oldest and most historically significant basilicas in Milan. Located on the ancient road leading to Pavia, this sacred site has been a cornerstone of Milanese history since the 4th century, built precisely where the city's new bishops traditionally began their procession. St. Eustorgio is known above all as the Church of the Magi. Legend tells us that it was the patron saint, Bishop Eustorgius, who transported the relics of the three wise men all the way from Constantinople to Milan, placing them here in the basilica. Before we begin our detailed tour, a quick note: the basilica is divided. The main church, where we start, is free to enter, but its most astonishing masterpiece, the Portinari Chapel, is housed in the adjacent museum complex. We will cover the incredible history and art within the main church first, and then transition to the museum entrance to witness that Renaissance jewel. You'll find the basilica near the popular Navigli district and the historic Coloni di San Lorenzo. Tram line 3 or 9 stops right outside the church, making for an easy arrival. Crucially, be aware that the basilica is split into 2 access areas: the main church and the museum complex. The main basilica is open daily, from 7:45 a.m. to 12 p.m., and again from 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., and entry here is free. The museum complex, which includes the incredible Portinari Chapel and the Ark of St. Peter Martyr, is closed on Monday, but is open from Tuesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The entrance fee for the museum is €6, and be sure to arrive before the ticket office closes at 5:30 p.m.
Standing before the basilica, you see its current form is largely defined by the Romanesque style, though centuries of reconstruction and adaptation are evident. The most striking exterior detail is the magnificent campanile, one of the tallest in Milan, surmounted by a curious 8-pointed star instead of a cross, a symbolic reference to the Star of Bethlehem and the basilica's central legend of the Magi. Now, as we enter the church through the main door, we immediately notice the sheer scale of the space. The interior of the basilica stretches an impressive 70 meters in length from the entrance to the apse. It is divided into 3 naves, topped by cross vaults with cylindrical ribs. Excluding the side chapels, the interior width is 24 meters. Supporting this vast structure are 7 pairs of clustered pillars, 5 of which are composed of alternating pairs of semi-columns and pilasters, creating a complex and heterogeneous architectural rhythm that draws the eye down the entire length of this historic space.
Our journey into the interior begins with the first chapel on the right, the Brivio Chapel, and from here we well move towards the high altar. Completed in 1484, this space is a pristine example of the emerging Renaissance style in Milan, known for its superb sculptural detail. Its focal point is the elegant tomb of Giovanni Brivio, a masterpiece carved by Benedetto Briosco in 1486. Beside it, the altar features an important work by the painter Bergognone, though now divided into 7 separate panels. The core of the altarpiece is a beautifully rendered and tender scene of the Madonna and Child. The second chapel on our itinerary is the Torelli Chapel, a beautiful space commissioned by the Torelli family between 1422 and 1439 and built in the Gothic style. Its centerpiece is the magnificent funerary monument to Pietro Torelli, created by the sculptors Martino Benzoni and Luchino Cernuschi. The artistry here is breathtaking. Notice how the sarcophagus is supported by 6 elegant, twisting columns resting on 3 distinct crouching lions, each with a strongly characterized expression. The sarcophagus itself is covered in refined late Gothic decoration, featuring 5 niches. At the heart of the relief is the Madonna with Child, who is captured in an unusual and tender protective gesture, placing her hand on the head of Pietro Torelli, who kneels in contemplation. This sweet moment is enhanced by the soft, flowing drapery of the figures. Above the monument, the effigy of the deceased lies beneath a crowning canopy, topped by an edicule showing God the Father blessing. While the tomb is Gothic, the chapel's walls and vault tell a different story. They were later decorated with striking frescoes by Giovan Mauro della Rovere, known as Il Fiammingino, executed in 1636, creating a compelling dialogue between 2 centuries of art.
Our third stop is the Chapel of the Madonna of the Rosary. Though its core dates back centuries, the visual impact here is dominated by its magnificent 18th century Baroque renovation by architect Francesco Croce. While the chapel holds the ancient 14th century sarcophagus of Prataso Caimi, it is the ceiling that draws the eye. The dome itself is filled with the glory of the angels, a dynamic fresco executed by Giovan Battista Sassi around 1736. However, your attention should also be drawn to the doorway arch. Here, a separate cycle of frescoes vividly depicts the 15 mysteries of the Rosary, reflecting the deep devotion of the Dominican order to the Virgin Mary, and serving as a striking visual prelude to the chapel itself.
The fourth chapel offers a window into the basilica's Gothic era. While some areas show their age, they reveal intriguing historical artistry. Look up at the vault to see the partially damaged frescoes of the evangelists, which date back to the 1330s. More impressive is the fresco on the walls, depicting the triumph of St. Thomas, an important work painted later in the same century. This chapel serves as the final resting place for key figures of medieval Milan. It holds the tomb of Stefano Visconti, who died in 1327, and his wife, Valentina. This beautiful funerary monument is now attributed to the master sculptor Bonino da Campione.
Stepping into the right transept, we encounter the legendary Chapel of the Magi. This space is the heart of the basilica's most famous tale. Here stands an ancient Roman sarcophagus, which, according to tradition, once held the relics of the Three Magi that St. Eustorgius brought to Milan from Constantinople. As you may know, these relics were infamously stolen during the devastating sack of the city by Frederick Barbarossa's troops in 1162. Thankfully, a portion of the relics was returned to Sant'Eustorgio in 1904 and is now enshrined in the reliquary above the altar. The chapel is surrounded by stunning medieval artistry. Next to the sarcophagus, a 14th century fresco depicts St. Eustorgius' blessing. Looking up, the entrance arch is adorned with a beautiful late 15th century painting of the Adoration of the Magi. The true sculptural treasure of the chapel is the altarpiece of the Magi, Ancona dei Magi. Commissioned in 1347 by the Confraternity of the Three Magi, this triptych is a masterpiece of Milanese Gothic sculpture, likely influenced by the style of Giovanni di Balduccio. The triptych is composed of 3 cusped panels depicting the Magi's story. The center panel shows the iconic Adoration of the Magi, complete with a charming angelic concert playing in the background. The left panel illustrates the Annunciation to the Magi and their departure. The right panel depicts the Magi being received by Herod. Finally, serving as the altar frontal is a 14th century bas-relief. Intriguingly, this is thought to be a fragment of the tomb of Uberto III Visconti, once located elsewhere in the church. making it an unexpected historical detail.
Next, we encounter a monumental work of art, the Polyptych of the Passion. This altarpiece isn't just beautiful, it's a direct link to the powerful rulers of Milan, the Visconti family. Historical records confirm that Giangaleazzo Visconti himself commissioned this ambitious project between 1395 and 1402. Today, the Polyptych features 9 marble reliefs across 2 levels, narrating the sorrowful stories of Christ's Passion. But look closely, this isn't a single unified vision. Art historians believe the work was never fully completed according to the original grand 3-tiered design and is the result of multiple artistic hands over time. The central focus, intentionally twice the size of the others, is the dramatic crucifixion. It's surrounded by 8 smaller narrative panels, all culminating beneath a delicate crowning of arches, angels, and saints. The sheer quality of the work suggests at least 3 different sculptors were involved. Most of the panels, 7 of them, were executed by a Lombard master who filled every available space with an extraordinary crowding of figures, giving them a claustrophobic, intense feeling. This altarpiece is a fascinating piece of art history, showing us the shift in Gothic sculpture and the complexity of these high-profile dynastic commissions. Directly behind the main altar, beneath the floor level in the apse area, you can see the visible remnants of a primitive Paleochristian basilica hall. These ruins are evidence of the church's origins, predating the current structure by centuries. Beneath the choir, a small hidden space opens up, the Chapel of the Angels. This jewel is entirely decorated with stucco work and frescoes. These paintings, executed by Carlo Urbino in 1575, depict vivid episodes from the Bible and the Gospels. On the very walls of the crypt, Urbino also painted the intriguing story of the legend of the 7 sleepers. With the historic crypt and the beautiful Chapel of the Angels, we are wrapping up our tour of the main basilica. But our journey isn't over. Sant'Eustorgio holds its most astonishing treasure right next door. Integral to the church, this space is now part of the museum complex, which, as we noted earlier, has separate operating hours and an entrance fee. Let's leave the main nave now and walk outside. We'll re-enter the complex to the left of the main facade to find ourselves face to face with one of the finest examples of Renaissance art in all of Milan, the Portinari Chapel.
Having stepped into the museum, we are now faced with the undisputed treasure of Sant'Eustorgio, the Portinari Chapel. Commissioned between 1462 and 1468 by the powerful Pagello Portinari, the Florentine agent for the Medici Bank in Milan, this chapel was built as a direct echo of the Florentine Renaissance, specifically inspired by Brunelleschi's work for the Medici in Florence. Portinari intended for this beautiful space to be his final resting place. The chapel is home to the most important Renaissance fresco cycle in the city, painted by the master Vincenzo Foppa. Vincenzo Foppa was the most influential Lombard painter of his era, recognized as the true founder of the Renaissance school in Milan before Leonardo da Vinci. The frescoes in this chapel are his stunning testament to that legacy. Look up at the breathtaking rainbow-colored vault, where roundels feature the 4 doctors of the church. Around the drum of the dome, Foppa painted a graceful choir of angels in colored stucco, a truly dazzling effect. The lunettes tell the story of the chapel's patron saint, Saint Peter Martyr, blending sacred narrative with local color. Miracle of the Cloud, which represents the miraculous appearance of a cloud to shade the faithful on a scorching day during one of the saint's sermons. Miracle of the False Madonna, where St. Peter exposes the consecrated host and unmasks the devil, who had appeared in the guise of the Madonna. Miracle of Narni, or of the healed foot, in which a young man who had kicked his mother and, repenting, had amputated his own foot, is healed by the saint who reattaches the limb. Martyrdom of St. Peter of Verona represents the assassination of the Inquisitor Peter, which occurred in the woods near Como at the hands of one of the heretics condemned by the saint. He is depicted, fatally wounded, writing Credo, I believe, on the ground with his blood. In the pendentives at the base, 4 tondi, round paintings, host the doctors of the church, painted with a virtuosic foreshortening effect. The entire arrangement has been interpreted as an allegorical representation of paradise. Dominating the center of the chapel is the spectacular tomb of Saint Peter Martyr, Arca di San Pietro Martire, a true masterpiece of Gothic sculpture, perfectly preserved. The ark itself was commissioned by the Dominicans and is signed and dated by Giovanni di Balduccio, 1339. This magnificent Carrara marble sarcophagus features a rectangular chest and is crowned by a cusped tabernacle containing the full round statues of the seated Madonna, Saint Dominic, and Saint Peter Martyr. Most critically, the structure is supported by 8 pillars of red Verona marble, each backed by a statue representing a fundamental virtue. These include the theological virtues, obedience, hope, faith, and charity, and the cardinal virtues, justice, temperance, fortitude, and prudence. Take a moment to observe the detail of the head of Prudence among the cardinal virtues. She is depicted with 3 faces, symbolizing her ability to keep watch in every direction, a visual metaphor for wisdom and foresight. Above these virtuous supports, 8 relief panels surround the sarcophagus, detailing the complete story of the saint's life, miracles, and afterlife, including his funeral, canonization, and finally, his murder.
And with that final look at the stunning Renaissance brilliance of the Portinari Chapel, our in-depth tour of the Basilica of Sant'Eustorgio, the legendary Church of the Magi, comes to an end. From the ancient Paleochristian ruins underground to the high Gothic drama of the Ark of St. Peter Martyr, this basilica is truly a journey through Milanese history, faith, and art. If you loved exploring this historical side of the city, be sure to check out our full Milan playlist. We cover essential stops like the magnificent Duomo Cathedral and its rooftop, the stunning shopping arcade of the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II, and the historic Sforza Castle. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into Europe's most historic sites, and let us know in the comments below which part of Sant'Eustorgio was your favorite. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.